And if you're really brave, you can try chicken feet.
Ah, no thanks. No. This is The Heart of G, an insider series on all things G Adventures. We're talking about some of our favorite travel destinations, getting some real stories from the field, and sharing some practical tools that you can use to help your clients select the perfect G Adventures tour for them. Learn fast, get inspired, and sell with confidence. Here we go.
I'll take you on a bit of a journey because this destination's a journey. We're talking around a campfire called a bit of a boma, which is a bit of a bush dinner. We're talking maybe hearing lions roaring in the back end. We're then moving towards the southernmost tip of Africa, where the two oceans, Atlantic and Indian, meet. We're talking about a country that is full of cultural and history, and it's just the most beautiful country on earth.
And it's a country that you call home, or at least used to call home, right? South Africa was the first trip I ever did with G Adventures, my first time in small group touring. Fell in love with our CEO, fell in love with G Adventures as a company, and fell in love with South Africa, of course.
Amazing.
You get to connect with a lot of people who've gone to visit South Africa for the first time. I'm curious to know, what are they typically most surprised by?
Such a good question, because South Africa is often painted as a place where there's no water. And I think people come back and they go, I cannot believe the standard of facilities in South Africa. I cannot believe the infrastructure in South Africa. So they come back quite surprised by the standard that they receive. They're quite surprised with what they get value-wise for what they pay for. The other thing that they always come back and talk about is the people. I remember arriving at the airport after not being back in South Africa for a while, and I would hear the ladies singing in the bathroom. Now, for me, I wouldn't notice that because that's really normal for them to do. But for somebody from a foreign country, a more conservative country, would be like, what are those ladies singing in the bathroom for? That comes from a lineage of history where they used to sing songs of hardship. They used to sing songs in the townships where it was all about how difficult life was in South Africa. And those songs carry through in everyday life, and they're still sung today.
I did notice that music, singing, it's a part of everyday life. Hadn't been into the women's bathroom, so didn't actually know what was going on in there. Yeah. You've already started talking on culture, and that being one of the things that makes South Africa so beautiful, so unique. What else should we know about the culture in South Africa that makes it unlike anywhere else in the world?
Well, we've got 11 official languages, right? So that just shows the inclusivity within South Africa. Even though English is our main language, so from a tourist perspective, it's really easy to converse in English, and you can get around really easily in South Africa. You know, we can go to Soweto, places like Soweto. We can go into Johannesburg, where you get that experience of just history. We've got storytelling that's gone from generation to generation, from the Khoisan and the Kalahari, right through to kind of going through apartheid, living through apartheid, and then coming out on the other end, and all the stories from there. You look at Madiba, Nelson Mandela. I mean, he's an icon, right? He was our president. He was a Nobel Peace Prize winner. And you just look at that history and the culture that comes through from that. We have the best Indian bunny chow, and there's actually no bunnies involved. It's the most amazing cuisine in Durban. It's a half loaf of bread that's dug out in the middle, and then basically a curry's put in there, but it's Durban curry, so it's like really amazing cuisine. And then you've got the Boerkaap in the Cape. So you've got the Cape Malay food and the cuisine and the music that comes from that and the festivals that they have, you know. So you just got this amalgamation of cultures, and it just kind of like works. It's called the Rainbow Nation, and it's not called that for no reason. I think G Adventures is really good at kind of embracing that inclusivity and just, you know, allowing everybody to have a safe space to be themselves. We run our tours throughout the year. We really have a big interest when we have our Pride festivals in Cape Town, so that will come through, and we just create a safe space for everybody to be themselves and to feel like they can be themselves on our tours, and that culture feeds through in everything that we do.
So cultural aspect, wonderful reason to visit South Africa, of course. What else do you think are the most compelling reasons for people to put South Africa at the top of their destination wish list?
Well, we have the big five. Most people have it on their bucket list. And I know I've been on tours where people literally every morning, they'll wake up really early and they'll do the sunset drives just to make sure that they tick every single big five off their list. You've also got the most beautiful experiences on some of our other travel styles. Like you'll get National Geographic that will give you those perfect photographic opportunities and gets you really up close and personal. But then we've also got like a lot of active trips. And these trips will take you to, say, kayaking on Boulders Beach amongst the penguins, which is a real beautiful colony of penguins. And it's just, people don't think penguins when they think South Africa. From a G-Adventures small group touring perspective, what makes it really special is you're getting up on these safari vehicles and you're in these small groups, so you can see such amazing wildlife and you can experience it really closely with the people that you're with. And you've got these expert guides, so your wildlife experiences are incredible. I actually went on a National Geographic tour, and our guide and our tracker were so incredible that we literally had a leopard, and I'm sure everyone that comes off a G-Adventures National Geographic tour or trip talks about that. And we literally had trekked the leopard the whole way from the river to across the river, down onto the other side, into the mountains. It was just an incredible experience.
For those who don't know, maybe we should say what the Big Five is.
So we've got the lion and the leopard, which are two cats, and then we've got the elephants and the rhinoceros, and then we've got the buffalo. It's funny because the buffalo is not always one that people think about, but if you actually see the head of a buffalo, they're massive. We have the tallest animal in the world, which is our giraffe. We have the largest land animal, which is our elephant. And then we also have the fastest animal on land, which is our cheetah. So why would you not want to go and see all that, right?
I'd love to know from your perspective, what sorts of questions do you think are helpful for agents to ask to help them identify if South Africa is the right destination?
For me, it's not necessarily about do they want to go to South Africa. Really important to understand what is their age. What are they expecting when they come to South Africa? Do they just want wildlife? Do they want wildlife and a little bit of history? Do they want wildlife history, but they want the buzz of a big urban city like Cape Town? Do they want to maybe try something totally different and do the garden route? Garden route is absolutely incredible. If anyone hasn't been to the garden route, you have to go to the garden route. It's one of the most pristine beaches. I mean, we have almost 3,000 kilometers worth of beaches in South Africa.
Let's talk about objections and tackling those. What sorts of objections or concerns do you find that people typically raise when they're considering going to South Africa, but they're just not quite sure?
First one is safety. It's got to be told. And I get asked that all the time coming from South Africa. The perfect kind of blend is G-Adventures because we take that stress away. You've got the comfort and the security of a tour guide, which we call a CEO, and you've got the comfort and security of like-minded people on that tour that you actually might make really good connections with.
You almost undoubtedly will.
Safety can really be an easy way to kind of nullify that objection, to say that that's actually not a worry at all. If that's your biggest fear, we've got you, because that's why you come through G-Adventures. Also, we're really strict at G-Adventures with vetting our properties, vetting who we use. We have our Ripple score, which makes sure that however much money our travelers spend on our tours goes back into the local community. So we're not going to be taking the travelers' money and putting it in unsafe places. Everything will be vetted, and we make sure that the standard of safety is really, really high at all costs. Often an objection will come up where people will say, I'd love to go to South Africa, but I'm waiting for my children to grow up and be out the house, and then I'll come to South Africa. And it's kind of like, well, we actually have amazing family tours. Like we have our National Geographic family journey tours, which are incredible. Now, if anyone knows National Geographic magazines for kids, they are so cute, and they get this little pre-literature before they go. And in South Africa, they get to go to a Jane Goodall Institute, which is really special. It's called Chimp Eden. I've been there before, and I remember taking my kids there. It's just a beautiful way of kind of showing them really how the animals are being rehabilitated, how they're being looked after. And then you've also got where they can go to the Cradle of Humankind in Johannesburg. It's actually an historical place because that's where human life is literally said to have started, like over 3 million years ago. I mean, the oldest skeleton that we have is Miss Ples, they call her. There's so much interactive activities for the kids. You can do this, you can put that light comes on, the skeleton appears, there's all these storytelling the whole way through. Can you imagine going on a holiday where your kids are getting that kind of experience and that education, and they're just being taught about a community and totally immersing themselves into actually what that country's like?
That's really good for me to know personally. I've got a bunch of friends who are exactly in that position where they're like, I can't wait until my kids are old enough for me to get my life back and start traveling again. South Africa on one of these Nat Geo family trips could be in their very near future. Then you mentioned earlier that people are surprised how affordable South Africa is as well. So I'm imagining that maybe price might come up as an objection.
The good thing about going on a tour is that most of your big expenses are included. We're very, very transparent with our pricing. So if there's optional activities, which we do list on all our websites and we do list it within our agent portals, those costs are all there for them to visibly see. So the traveler knows upfront what those costs could be. From a cost perspective, it's really easy to budget, and there's going to be no major surprises along the way. That's the worst when you're actually on holiday and you have to have that financial stress. Right?
Yeah. Bill shock. What are 2 or 3 things that you think people need to sample food-wise?
Oh my goodness. So you have to do, look, firstly, you have to have, and it's not a normal barbecue, right? We call it a braai. You can't explain it as a normal barbecue because it's so much more of like a social event, especially those done in the bush. Oh my goodness. In the African savannah, to have a bush boma is just next level. So you have to have what we call a braai. Biltong will be everywhere, so you have to have biltong. And then I think the other thing really is the Cape Malay food. Oh, they have a thing called samosas, which is like pastry filled, like savory filling in like a little triangle pastry. Oh, they are so delicious. And amongst that is also vet cook, which translated as fat cake, which sounds really strange. But it's also like almost like a savory donut with filling of mince. But it's cooked in Cape Malay curry spices, so it's just phenomenal. And the amarula, which is my favorite, and still a staple in my cupboard today, because you can get that anywhere, really.
Tell us what it is.
It's like a creamy liqueur. It's actually from the amarula tree, and what's really interesting about it is that grows all over the Kruger, and the elephants actually eat the seeds, and they can get really drunk on it. So it's not just the humans that can get drunk on amarula, it's the elephants as well. So if you're having a sundowner and there's an elephant having an amarula with you, then what a pleasure.
Fast 5. What do you believe are the 5 most important things for travel agents to memorize, keep front of mind when they're talking about touring South Africa with G Adventures?
Well, incredible wildlife experiences. It's just next level. Cultural diversity that South Africa has to offer. It's kind of in the bloodline of South Africa. It's what the heartbeats is all about. When you arrive at a lodge, you don't just arrive at a lodge, you arrive to drum beats at a lodge, and the welcome is phenomenal. The hospitality that you receive from the local people and the warmth that you experience and just the smiles that you receive everywhere you go, it's just incredible. I think the third thing really would be the fact that we are very immersive in the community when it comes to our tours. And that's something that the agents must keep top of mind because that's what makes us who we are. I would say number 4 would really be about the fact that it is the hub of Africa. You know, you are in the center for when you're wanting to do trips to Vic Falls, you're wanting to do trips to Tanzania. It's fantastic to kind of start in South Africa and make your way up. We have incredible overland tours in a really beautiful purple bus. They're actually so cute because all the people on the side of the road, they make like little crafts, and so you'll get little beadwork and you'll get little key rings, and they've started making these little purple out of tin overland vehicles, which is so special because they start seeing the purple vehicles and they know that it's doing good for the communities. And then, like I said, high value and less effort with the CEOs, looking after all your logistics, making sure everything's done. You know, you don't have to worry about safety. You don't have to worry about what's going to happen the next day. Everything's organized, everything's sorted, and you're really getting a lot for what you're paying for. I mean, a lot of people say they come back and they say, I would have paid so much more. That experience was out of this world.
So I feel like you would be a great person to ask what makes a National Geographic journey special and unique in the G Adventures portfolio.
I think I'm going to start with my favorite part of it, which is my CEO. The Chief Experience Officers, they are so incredible. We had a gentleman, his name is Chris Ngube. And Chris came to us and he started off by chatting to us and saying, I have 2 wives, my actual wife and Zimbabwe, where he was from. And that just showed his passion for Africa, right? Sometimes you're on a bus for quite a while. So if you think of a 3-hour bus trip, that might scare you. But with Chris, it didn't scare anybody because his knowledge and when to speak and when not to speak and how to manage the group was phenomenal. We had a group of shoppers on our trip. And he literally changed the itinerary to make sure that we had extra time at all the little stores along the way because everybody wanted to shop. That experience that they hold and their passion for the country, that for me is priceless. I think the other thing is you are getting a more upgraded experience. So when we talk camping and we talk National Geographic camping and tented camping, it's not a little tent in the middle of a bush. It's beautiful. It's like a luxury lodge. It is incredible. There's a beautiful pool. You can order a marula and sit at the pool. You have the hot towel on arrival. You have the drumming. What I also love about it is that you are going to be getting experiences that are a little bit different. In the Cape, we have Kirstenbosch Botanical Gardens. You will get a botanist that will come and speak to the group. So you'll get that expert kind of knowledge of pockets along the way that you wouldn't necessarily get. Those kind of pockets of experiences, I think, is what really sets National Geographic, apart. I'm yet to find another tour operator that really gives you that kind of expert knowledge and that kind of attention when it comes to experiencing the country and what it has to offer.
So more educational, more immersive, exclusive experiences, upgraded accommodation, and more comfortable transportation, and the creme de la creme of CEOs. So there are some people out there who are still quite skeptical about the idea of small group travel, traveling as part of a tour. What do you think people should know about G Adventures and your style of travel?
Well, I was quite skeptical, to be honest, before I went on my first one. And I think only once you go on it do you actually understand that you get a lot of flexibility within your travel, within your tour. There's a lot of evenings where you can go and grab something else that you might want to eat, and you don't have to kind of stick with the group the entire time. I think what's also really quite special about our tours is that you get to do things that you would never even know about. There's something quite special about going somewhere and having a local show you around, because they're going to know spots that you would never know about. I also think that you get to meet people that you would never meet before. I think that's so special. With us being a global company, you will be on tours where there are people from all over the world. And once those bonds form and you travel with people, they just become lifetime friends. And I think also the big objection is that it's for young people, or it's too adventurous, or it's not for my age. And that's where all our different travel styles come in, that no matter what you're kind of looking for, we'll find it. We've got it. You just got to know where to match everybody, and then they'll be happy because they'll be in the space that they want to be in.
Any final things that you would like people to remember traveling to South Africa with G Adventures?
Remember the objections. Remember the fact that it is safe, especially if you're traveling with G Adventures. It is beautiful for families. If you're wanting to travel solo, come. It's all about inclusivity. South Africa really is a place for anybody. No matter what you enjoy, culture, history, nature, photography, wildlife, whatever, dancing, food, wine. Wine is incredible. You can actually e-bike in one of the vineyards on one of our tours, which is quite special. But I think no matter what you do and what your passion is, it will hit home in South Africa. You will find that, and it will nurture that part of what you're looking for.
Thank you so much. Your passion certainly does shine through when you're talking about your homeland.
I need to be passionate about South Africa, yeah.